What is going on, guys? Happy Wednesday. Reefing with O. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, Dev. How are you?
Wonderful, thank you. What's going on, chat? We got Alyssa, Acropora, Reefing with O. How you guys doing today? Casey. So today we're going to dig into different reefing methodologies. And of course, as always, if you have questions as we go, fire them off in the chat and we'll make sure we hit them up as well. How you doing, man?
I am wonderful. Fine, glad to be here. I'm sorry you're a few minutes late, so I'm apologizing on your behalf. But I'm I'm good. I'm good.
I was answering questions for you.
Is that a beverage?
Yes, it is.
That's unfair, man. You're drinking like a adult beverage, and I'm drinking coffee. That's not fair.
I mean, I've had copious amounts of coffee today already, so it's time to switch it up. You can get one too. I will not stop you.
Yeah, but I have to get up. I'm already here.
You have
We're
kids.
already a few minutes late. My son has a broken thumb,
Oh,
so
no.
he's gonna complain about everything. So no.
Fair enough. Okay. What's going on? Greg, Alyssa, Gloria, poor guy. Lady, you have to tell me what happened. Reef Spy, how's it going?
Wait, the Reef Spy?
Reef Spy. Minus
Are we?
the. So, starstruck. Reefing methodologies.
Hold on.
All right. Okay, go.
No. I don't think you realize who that is. You remember back in the day when we used to do Rico Stream, Reef Spy. He was in Pennsylvania. He was a great friend of Billy
Yep.
Pipes, and he did a lot of those DIY where he would build like the Arduino. That's Reef Spy. Man.
Oh, that's been way back. I
Yeah,
do now. I just
the
opened
last
up
time
his
I
channel.
saw him,
Yeah.
I think I met up with him. Remember, we had the Vertex controllers because
Mhm.
he was the one that was doing DIY. So the last time I saw him is when I met up with him to give him like the remnants of the last Vertex controller. So I'm sorry to break.
Did you
like,
actually get one of the
character.
Vertex ones?
I did.
The original or like the newer one
The
that never
new
came
one.
out?
Oh, the new one. The new one, and it was. We've already gone off the rails already, but I had the new one, and it was working half decent. But as more and more updates came out, it got progressively worse and worse and worse.
Oh no.
The hardware was great.
Mm-hmm.
I think the thing was a little bulky, but yeah, I liked it. Yeah. He said he still has it. That's the last time I saw him. I met up with him. I was like, hey, you've been doing cool stuff. Like, do something with it. So,
That's awesome.
man, good to see Reef Spy, man.
Yeah, it's been far too long. Welcome back. He still has that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Crazy.
I know.
It's hard to believe how long we've been doing live streams. Way back.
Yeah, he had the 180.
Mhm.
He was somewhere in Pennsylvania. He was doing the 180, and he went through like a couple different iterations of it. And I remember he had a small office tank sump. He
Mhm.
was one of the dream. He had this gigantic leather. I think the thing was like 2 feet
Yep.
across. It's amazing how you can recall people's tanks, right? Like,
Mhm. People by
he
their
had-
tanks.
I know. You see, how many times have you seen a picture of a tank? You're like, oh, that looks like Dev's tank, or
Yeah.
that looks like O's tank. So yeah,
It's funny.
yeah.
It's
All
like
right. I know.
I know. Well, it's like with a dog. You go to a dog park, you like know the dog's name but not the human's name. You're like, I recognize that tank. What's your name again? It's awesome.
I know, man. Time flies when you're having fun, isn't it?
Still have that leather in the 180. Awesome. Must be massive. We're totally off topic, but I remember one of the LFSs, they had like a BioCube 30 or whatever, and the whole tank was like 98% this Japanese toadstool. It was just massive, which is kind of crazy because the clowns live in it. It was kind of cool, but it was just like one of those like massively large leather tanks.
Those species specific tanks. I know we all aim for reefs, but I have seen some little like species specific. You're doing the Ghani tank, right?
Yeah.
We've seen anemone tanks. I didn't think like a tank of like Xenia or GSP or like Nephthia or these specific things could look cool.
Mhm.
But if you do it right, they can actually look really right. The one thing
yeah.
I worry about is, and the first thing when you told me you were doing a Ghani tank, the first thing I said is, "Oh gosh, Deb, what if you get like a disease or something? Like
I'll
it's
cry.
gonna wipe out." Yeah, I know. That's my first thing about doing like a species. You do a Monty tank, you get Monty eating nudibranchs. Everything in the tank is at risk.
Yep.
That's always my fear with anything species specific.
Yep, it's true. Well, I mean, there is a Goni eating nudibranch out there, which would suck. Hopefully, it never enters my system, but I mean, so far, so good.
But you're not, from what you told me, you're not going to be willy-nilly putting Ghanies. You started with a batch, you dipped them, you
I
got
added a few the
oh,
other day.
oh gee, you see, all right, here I am
but
singing your
but
praises.
the water came in was very cold and they're not open yet. So I'm like, so I'm hoping they make it because the delivery driver took their sweet time and it's been freezing the past week or two. So hopefully they're good. I might take them out and give them some proactive dipping to see if it helps or not, but we'll see.
All right.
Hopefully.
All right. Sorry to hear, man. But
Yeah.
that tank looking good. From what I see, tank looking good.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm pretty stoked. I also got a really cool torch the other day, which I added. So it's like gold and purple. It's like stripey. It's good.
Man,
I know.
doing cool stuff, man.
I trading coral, man. So what? Okay, rethink methodologies. That's the topic of today's stream. Yep.
And then we'll have to go back and answer some questions because some questions came in. But
Absolutely.
reefing methodologies. Let's start with you, sir. This
Yep.
is your stream. Just start out with a list of the different. If you followed, if you want me to start, I can perfectly start. But
You have been better at me than following a system. I have been the kitchen sink approach and special blend mixing, which is not recommended. You're best to stick with one methodology instead of trying to blend them all and make up your own. So that's the double-edged sword of that one. I'm trying to simplify things over time and like run some of like my newer tanks much simpler than my older tanks, just to kind of see how that goes. But yeah. Okay. Why don't you start? Because you've tried like a trite method. Like you've done very specific methods. I know you
so
have.
I think it probably sound like a broken record to the people who know me at this point, but I think the best tank I had may not have been Acropora based, but the best tank I had was a Zeovit tank.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think the Zeovit method was what made the tank special. I think it's a fact that you're at the tank every day dosing, so you're in tune.
Yeah.
Like nowadays, I fall into the trap where everything can be automated, and you could, but with Zeovit, I didn't try to automate anything Zeovit. I was there dipping the bottles every day, so I think you're more in tune with what's happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the most successful method I've had where I love my tank. And I still look at pictures. Again, it wasn't Acropora based. We can look at them and say the corals were simple, but I think that's the best tank I've ever had.
Yeah. I on the whole, being at the tank every day, I would say that's a big plus side with the moonshiner method as well, because I was hardcore with that, doing the little micro daily doses of everything, and the tank looked phenomenal when I was doing it, but I was also paying a lot more attention to it, right? So I do think that is a good chunk of it, is it makes you more in tune with your tank. It makes you stare at it every day, where if you automate everything, you kind of coast a bit more and you see it on and off and sporadically and whatnot.
So going straight from Zeovit,
Mm-hmm.
this was a bad transition for me because I went from Zeovit to Triton. And it wasn't the Triton method that was it. It was the hard transition from one method to the next, right? Where you're Zeovit, you're ultra low nutrients, and then you go from ultra low nutrients to trying to control nutrients with something else, right? And I fell into the trap of no water changes, but I found the trite method for me was fine. It worked. It did its job.
Do they have trace elements mixed in with it?
Yes, it does.
Mm.
And then they also have the separate trace elements that you then adjust.
I think that a lot of these methods that incorporate the trace elements directly add to better results. Because I think if you're just dosing the main stuff and doing water changes, you're likely fine. But there is those points where you could be deficient in something, right? Like water changes might not do it. Where if you're dosing something that has all the trace mixed in, it's a good safety blanket. And I think that's one of the reasons why people see better success with a lot of those methods.
Now, let's think about this. Is there, let's take the BRS bulk two-part out of it. There's ways to supplement it. But what I think every other method every other two-part supplement out there has traces built in. There's different ratios based on, the person's in. None of them are right or wrong. It's just based on their, interpretation. But you have Red Sea.
Yep.
You have what is it, Alpha Reef. Even
Mm-hmm.
without Alpha Reef, you have Tropic Marin.
Mm-hmm.
You have, does the Brightwell code A and B, does it have traces in it?
That might just be dosing, but they do have a trace element one because I was using it for quite a while.
ESV
Replenish, I
has
think.
their own tracing.
Yeah.
Triton has it. So I think everyone has their own
Mm-hmm.
trace
ESV
program.
has
So
it mixed in.
yeah, it's local to New York,
Yeah.
man. That thing's been around for a while. So
I
many.
really liked it. If it's local, I would totally get some. Like, because I mean, the shipping 5 gallon buckets adds up, at least for me on the opposite end of the world. But ESV, when I was using that one, I found it so simple. It's just two additives and it was already like pre kind of balanced. Like, I thought it was a really cool solution.
So there was one time, um, I think I was sending this to Woody in the UK. He wanted ESV, so I bought the 5 gallon jugs and emptied like the contents into baggies.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself when I was shipping, I was like, my gosh, suppose someone opens it at customs and is like, what are you, what? So I literally separated the things into baggies and shipped it to him instead of shipping like, you know,
A big bucket.
like jugs, big jugs. So when
Mm-hmm.
you buy the gallon jugs, you actually get powder and you
Mm-hmm.
you need to add water to it. But I thought to myself, like, suppose someone at customs opens this and see like baggies with powder. Where would their mind go?
Yeah. That shit would never make it there. Confiscated. Testing
Yep.
it. Yeah. Pretty much. That's funny, actually. Okay, question in the chat. Do you think kalkwasser is more stable when using a kalkwasser reactor? Or I think it's, or a bucket. Input of RODI and additional CO2 and decreases conductivity. Yeah, so a calc reactor will slowly lose potency over, the week or two until you top off more. When I was kind of paying attention to mine, I kind of found the sweet spot, every 7 to 10 days, add a little bit more of a scoop to it just to freshen it up. And I found that worked out pretty well. The other method is you do your big bucket batch and slowly dose it, make another big bucket batch. Obviously cheaper because you don't need to buy a reactor. And you'd be fairly consistent as long as you're not really interacting with CO2. So you want like a fairly snug lid on it. But it obviously can't be like a vacuum lock as well, right? So it's a bit of a trade-off. Lost your audio, buddy. Are you muted?
Can you hear me now?
Sure can.
All right, sorry. My other headphones died.
Oh no.
Calc stirrers, man. I can't go back to mixing up calc or doing it through my ATO anymore. That's not.
No.
If you have the space, I like calc stirrers.
Yeah, they're way more space efficient. That's a big thing, at least for me. If you
I
had,
like the Avast, but I've seen the Reef Octopus one. I know. What do you have? The ice cap.
I sold that one out of the Vast.
Okay, you have the Avast.
Yeah.
But they all work. How do you like the Avast?
I like it. Cracking curls. 5 gallons a day is too much to mix. Yeah, if you have a big tank, you would burn through a stock easily. So a reactor is definitely your friend on that, on a large system.
Have you made any modifications to your Avast?
I 3D printed little propellers that I put on the shaft, and I also put a bunch of zap straps on it just so it mixes it up more.
Told you. 4 years, still haven't replaced the pump.
Yep.
I bought a pump because it stopped working. And when I was ready to change it, I realized it was just unplugged. The calc stirrer was unplugged. So 4 years going, still that pump is running 24/7. I've heard, I don't know how true this is because I didn't reach out, I didn't dig into it, but they say you can actually get a pump that runs a little bit faster.
Probably. I looked actually a while back. I was looking on like AliExpress and I was finding similar pumps at different speeds. And I thought about trying that. I just never got around to it.
So with my Avast Marine,
Mm-hmm.
I just had them make a shorter version for me. They just chopped off the top. They didn't charge me any extra.
Yeah.
But my calc is more potent now. It's just, I think yours, if you have the small one, it would be 15 inches. Mine is 10.
Okay.
10 or 8, but I just lopped off.
Mm-hmm.
So when the calc comes out, it's a little bit more potent.
That's kind of what I did, but with all my mixing to keep it more suspended, so it didn't settle as much. And that worked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Reef Moonshiners is basically the DSR method before ICP. What does DSR stand for? I'm curious now.
Is it something? Is it something Dutch?
Probably.
Is it, what is it? The DSR method? I'm not sure. Dutch synthetic reefing.
Hmm. So, makes sense.
Let me just say, I think one of the things that's always publicized is the no water changes of like Zeovit, not Zeovit, of Triton.
Mhm.
And I don't think that's true, right? You do it when you need it.
Yeah.
But I think that was popularized too much. That part of Triton was talked about too much, and I think it did Triton and people a disservice.
I think that was the allure of Triton. People are like, oh, I don't have to do water changes. Let me try this method. I think that was like what swayed people over to it, though, on the flip side of it.
True.
Yep.
I know. And the other thing is, there was one time, I don't know what I did. I tested my tank, and the Zeovit, the Triton, whatever the Triton test said, it was off the charts.
Mhm.
And I looked at it and I was like, man, I'm going to have to get so many different elements to adjust. And when I went to the LFS, the guy said, hey, you can do that, or here, you can buy this bucket of Tropic Marin. At the time, I had a 75-gallon tank. He's like, buy this 160-gallon or whatever of Tropic Marin and do big water changes.
Mhm.
And after I did that, the next time I sent in an ICP, everything was green.
Yeah.
So he said, you could have adjusted everything, but doing like essentially turning over all the water
Mhm.
essentially does the same thing.
Kind of reset it in a sense. It's,
Yeah.
I don't know. I was such a slacker on water changes for ages. And then this year, I'm like, okay, I'm going to get better at it. So I'm going to try and do one like once a month. But I was a massive slacker for the last year or two. So I'm trying to like be better.
The other thing about water changes is no water changes. We have to be careful because when I tried Triton, the no water changes Triton, I wasn't ready for it. Um, I was Reddit or the forums, and there'd be a guy, right? I don't remember who it was. The guy's not important, but he was like, I don't use filter socks. They're a pain in my butt.
It's not wrong.
I haven't run them in 5 years. So, me as a new reefer was like, that guy doesn't want filter socks. Look at his tank.
Mhm.
So years late, of course, you figure out what happened to my tank. It got algae, probably crashed. But years later, when you look at it, it's like, that guy's tank was like 5 years old, fully mature. The guy probably had like an inch of detritus down in his sump. He probably vacuumed it twice whatever. But there were other things
Well,
to consider that I didn't consider. All I saw was I don't like filter socks.
Yeah.
Or I don't like water. I don't do water changes, and I just ran with that.
well, the other thing to consider too, if you have a big Chaeto refugium, that is essentially a giant filter. All that mesh of Chaeto is going to capture any particles and it's going to be trapped in your Chaeto or in the bottom. So that essentially could be a giant mechanical filter for you as well. So if you have that, you probably don't need socks. I mean, if you have socks you never clean, you might as well pull them out. It's true.
Right?
I somehow still have socks in my NAS tank, but I bought the mesh socks that just capture the big stuff so they don't clog up easily. And I just clean those every, I don't know, week or so. But Alyssa, thank you for the super chat.
That's what I use at work. And I only empty it. I take it to the restroom at work and just wash it out once a month.
Yep. Are there ever people out
Yeah.
there and you come in with your dirty socks and you're just like, and they're like,
You know what? I actually go in really early,
Yeah.
or I stay really late.
okay, avoidance. Avoid the issue.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I just when I'm doing water change, I wait until late in the evening because,
Mm-hmm.
it's an office. You don't want this weird guy. Like, it already looks weird enough when I'm coming in with distilled water. And I see the question about water when I'm coming in with, I buy distilled water from Whole Foods or one of the pharmacies.
Mm-hmm.
So it already looks weird when I'm like coming in with like 2 jugs of distilled water. So much less me going back and forth to the bathroom with so what happens is I do a water change about every 6 to 8 weeks, and I just do 100% water change. I buy the water from Petco and I just drain it to the bottom and I just do a 100% water change.
Yep.
Don't dose anything. I don't even know if it's utilizing anything. The 2 jugs of waters get delivered. It's already on a auto order. When it gets there, I just drain the tank and just
Crazy. I mean, if you can, why not? Okay. Queen bleh of ghosting. Are test strips reliable? They are not super accurate, but they give you a rough idea. I wouldn't, say they're precise by any stretch of the means, but they'll tell you if you're high or low or, in the ballpark.
They're better than nothing, is what I'm gonna say.
I agree. I second that.
Purified water. I don't know about purified water,
Purified
but
how? Like, do you run it
I
through a
use
Brita
distilled
filter in the
water.
fridge? Do you run it through UV? Like, purified how? So I would say need more details. So you could use, Brita from your water filter in the fridge, but it only runs it through a carbon filter. So maybe it removes chlorine and some of the nasties, but there could be potential other bad stuff in there that are still going in your tank. So, yeah, I mean, the best is RODI. Next would be, probably like distilled or something like that. And then you could get just RO, and then there's other levels of it. But if it's not fully stripped down, you could be perfectly fine, or you could have an issue. Like, it's hard to say because everyone's water source is different, and you don't know what contaminants or minerals are in there that will eventually build up in your tank. So that's kind of the risk. That's why most people prefer RODI, because you're starting with a blank slate.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Purified store-bought drinking water. Yeah, so that's fine. If you're buying the ones where you fill those jugs at the store, they're usually RO filtered. They won't have DI on it, but they'll be reverse osmosis. So that's fine. That's how I started reefing for years. I would just take I'd go take a 5-gallon Home Depot bucket and just fill it up and put the lid on it and throw in my car a couple of those. And then eventually that got old and I just bought my own RODI. But I did that for the first year, at least a reefing.
I use distilled. I buy the Petco water to change water, but I use distilled.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Shop vac attachment for a standard 5-gallon bucket. Those, I've always thought that'd be a great idea. I don't know how fast saltwater would kill it, but I always thought that it would be a cool idea for sucking out sump and detritus and stuff. The
shop vac?
The 5-gallon bucket shop vacs, like the cheap add-on ones.
Greg's here. I think Greg said he has one. And he's using it, and he's had it for years. I think he said you just rinse it when it's done. And the one, like the bucket vac that you just put on the top of the bucket.
Yeah.
I think Greg said he's, I think Greg and a few people say they have,
Yeah. All right. Lots of people say 2-ish years, 4 years. Wait, should I rinse when I'm done? Yeah, probably. Saltwater's not your friend.
It's only $20 here. It's really only like $24.
So I mean, it's cheap.
It's Home Depot. Yeah. Look, Reef Keeper, 8 years.
I've never rinsed it. Kraken corals lasted 2 years. Either way, for $25, that's not bad at all.
Yeah, it's called the bucket head.
Yep, exactly. Hey, Phil. Bucket head, 8 years. Rinse it in, runs great. Nice. Okay. All right, I'll get one. Okay. Yep. This is just like a random your thought question, but in my sump, I have on my water box, I have high nutrients, and I know there's those arguments for deep sand beds and blah 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 about it denitrifying and stuff. I have crazy high nitrates, and I partially wonder now with all my Chaeto and all my stuff in there, is it just being a giant detritus trap in there? Is it actually beneficial, or would I be better off sucking out my couple-year-old Miracle Mud and Aquaforce Life Source and whatever the heck's my layers underneath my mountain of Chaeto?
I'm gonna tell you. So the way my sump is configured now, hang on a second. I'm gonna see if I can give you.
Hold on a second. Silence.
My sump light. Yeah. Oh, it's not actually showing up. The sump light just came on, but it's actually not showing up in the stream any better. Okay. So I had my sump configured where half of it was a refugium, and the tank started performing way better and nutrient dropped when I actually got rid of the refugium. Mm-hmm. So because unfiltered water was going to the refugium, I never put any mud in mine, but when I was taking it out, I had a 3-4 inch thick of mud or mulm or whatever you want to call it, made an entire mess. Mm-hmm. So depending on how they're configured, they can probably be more trouble than what they were.
Yeah, I'm starting to think that it's probably adding to my nitrates at this point, and it's probably, you know, 25% like mollum and detritus by this point. Okay,
So
what is high? Okay, so mind you, they're lower now because I have done 2 water changes since this ICP test, and I started dosing a LMNP to like reduce it.
hmm
But I'm just looking at my ATI result once I find it. This one. But they were super high. And I knew they were high, but then I realized they were really high.
40,
No, higher.
50,
Higher.
70?
Let me find it. Probably getting close, though. Do they do nitrates on the...
ATI? I don't know.
There's phosphate on there.
Let me check mine. So right as of right now,
Maybe they don't. Anyway, so at first I was like, so I have a Trident MP on my tank. And then I thought my Trident was just being crappy and not working, but it was because my nitrates were outside of the testing range. So I was like, alrighty then. Now it claims it's 45. I still speculate it's higher. But yeah, it's 56 like a week ago. And before that, I think it was even higher. But it was like 80 or whatever. Like I think it was at the top of its testing limits is why it wasn't giving me a proper reading. Now I'm starting to get a reading again. But
if high phosphates, I just use GFO now, and nitrates, I just keep
yeah.
Like a spritz bottle with vinegar mixed with vodka, and I'll spritz every day. Like give it a little spritz every day, like a little, just like a pump bottle. So I'll give it like 5 pumps a day. And once I see the nitrate start coming down, I'll just keep sprit. Yeah. So it's like carbon dosing, but
Basically what I'm doing with this, same thing. I did add on some Rollfoss as well to my tank, which I haven't used in years, just because I'm like, okay, my phosphates is crazy high, so I should deal with that.
I use GFO in a bag, not as efficient, but still works.
Oh, that was
No,
our
I used to be
RTI
scared
result.
of it.
That's why it doesn't tell me. Sorry. Yeah.
I used to be scared of it, but I used to be scared of GFO. I don't know why, but now,
All is well in moderation.
whenever I need it, yeah.
The only complaint is it does suck up trace elements, so it does rob some of your good stuff at the same time. Okay. According to my ICP, it was 89, and they say critically high. So, and I think the Trident only tests up to 80, I think. I believe that's what it is. So I was like, past the range. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And it says my PO4 was 1. I was like, oof.
Only one?
Yeah, 1. Now, according to the Trident, assuming it's correct, I can't find my HANA, but it's 0.09 or 0.1 or something. So I've done 2 big water changes, and I started doing this, and I put on a bit of Rollfoss. So it was super high. So I have got it back to more reasonable levels now.
It's not too bad. It's a softy tank, though.
No. This is my water box, my main tank.
Oh.
Yeah, so it was way too high. So this is the stuff that happens when you ignore it for a long time. So this is one reason
You're
that
focusing on the Gonies, huh?
But in life, that's why I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get back on, a monthly water change. I'm actually gonna use Rollfoss again and like just get the tank back in check. But it was a year between ICP tests. Like I did not check anything for a long, long time. So it was a reminder to pay more attention to these things.
Are you not? I thought you had like automatic water changes hooked up on that tank and everything.
I do now. I had them turned off for a long time.
Oh.
So it's back on now.
With the dose quiet drive?
Yeah. Yep, so it's all back. I got some salt. I traded my LFS some corals for some salt. And I'm back in business again.
All right.
Yep. So reefing method, water changes. It's good to do them as preventative because then your nutrients don't get crazy out of whack. You don't completely bottom out on trace elements. So yeah, there's a few things like that.
Agreed. And that's one of the reasons I really like Instant Ocean, because Instant Ocean is cheap.
Yep.
And just look out for deals. Like I love Instant Ocean because I think I have to watch the price of salt less when I'm using Instant Ocean. I got a coupon from Chewy the other day And whenever I see these on sale, I jump on it. So um,
That's my strategy too. I just
I
buy it
got
when
a
it's on sale.
bucket, $30. Yeah, so $30. It was
Nice.
on Chewy a few days ago. So I
I
got two
wish.
buckets. So in the hallway, my super is probably a little
Free.
pissed with me, but in the hallway of my building, I do have a couple of 5-gallon buckets that I need to take in of salt.
Yeah.
So it works, man. You just look for.
There you go. I buy it when it's on sale, but my sale's not nearly as good as your sale, so you're much better over there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's whenever it's on sale, I just buy like 3 or 4 buckets.
Josh Allen is asking me what's my address. He can take care of that for me.
Perfect. What was
That's
the
true.
other- Yep.
I need to take him in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Instant Ocean, man, works, cheap.
Yep.
If you're in a bind, again, I'm not saying anybody do this. Like, you can crop this out, but you can go to Petco and you can, or Chewy, or Rotate. And you know, if you sign up for the auto delivery the first time, they give you a huge discount. I'm not saying like in the future you can't cancel the auto delivery. Just saying.
Just saying.
Yeah. So 1 month, maybe first time you do it with Petco, then the next time you do it with Chewy, and then the next time you do it with PetSmart. Just, you know,
And then
I'm
you
not
cancel them
encouraging
all,
it.
and then you 3 months later, like, welcome back. Here's a deal again.
Say 12 months. I'm not encouraging nefarious behavior by anyone. I'm just telling you, you know.
Man, Instant Ocean's so cheap for you. Here, a bucket's like $77.
Instant Ocean?
Yeah.
I would just buy HW Marine or like Brightwell if it was that price.
Those are more money. Yeah, so
Man.
yours is cheap. If it's $35, I'd be doing freaking weekly water changes. I wouldn't care. If only. I have a small fort built of Instant Ocean because it's the same thing. Yep.
Yeah. And then I keep the buckets. And my friend who plants in the summer, he comes and gets the buckets and he plants in them in the summer.
Perfect. Yeah, no, it's a good way to go.
Win-win.
It is. Okay, methods. What else have you tried?
What did I say? Zeovit?
Yep.
I said Triton.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me just differentiate. Are we talking, because in my mind,
Mm-hmm.
I'm associating products with methods.
Yeah.
Maybe I did few, but I think I've done the balling method. I think that was just 2-part. I don't think there was anything, to me, there wasn't inherent anything special about balling.
No, not really. It's just 3-part dosing at the end of the day. It's what I think of as standard dosing. Like, to me, balling is just standard issue.
So everything else fits into that dosing, whether it's Red Sea, whether it's, I do separate Triton, Zeovit, and maybe something like Alpha Reef is slightly different because, you know, it's a little different. But in fact, that's what I'm using now, Alpha Reef. But the rest of them are really just 2-part. ESV, yeah, I don't think there was anything special between them. Like, I think it's just whatever's convenient, whatever your LFS has, whatever you believe in. If you're using, like, if you like Red Sea products, then go with Red Sea. If it's available to you, if it's local, I like to choose what's local.
Yeah.
Like I said, ESV is made. I don't know why I'm not using ESV. It's probably a huge oversight on my part, but ESV is local. So every fish store has it with the jugs pre-mixed because they're not shipping it cross country. It's all local. So it's really popular locally here.
If I was you, I would totally be using ESV. You got trace elements in your thing, you just 2 dosing heads. It's simple and easy.
Yeah, no.
Yep.
I wish I liked the ESV salt. So then I'd really go. But it's like playing mad scientist, and it's not for me.
Yeah. How come?
Because you get the salt different, and you have to mix everything in.
But if you just dump it all in at 100%, it's really not that much effort. Like,
but I'm only mixing 50 gallons at a time.
Okay, fair point.
yes, if I was mixing like 100 gallon, absolutely.
Yeah.
The few times it came in handy was when I overdosed something.
Hmm.
So when my magnesium one time I overdosed and it was like some ridiculous 1800
Yeah.
and was killing my snails, I went and bought ESV and just mixed it up with almost no magnesium
Hmm.
and then did a water change. But
Okay.
it's just I feel like it's a little bit too much for like the guy who just wants to do water changes.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Hercules says he thinks Triton, Zeovid, Burling are methods. That's true.
Yeah, they are. Oh, old school new venture. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Much appreciated.
All right. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate your content. I appreciate you supporting it. Thank you. Method wise, I mean, kalkwasser. I was big into kalkwasser for a while, and I've slowly stopped chasing the pH dragon. For a while there, it was, I was pushing and pushing. I was up to like 8.5, 8.6 pH. I got crazy high for a while there, and now I'm like, but also this is my tank where stuff was like growing too much, so I just backed it all back, and I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna simplify stuff again instead of having 800 methods at once.
What's my pH now? 8.3. I think since I've been using kalkwasser, I think
Yeah.
that was the last. I used to have kalkwasser, and then I was pulling in air from outside, but since I was using the CO2 scrubber, I do have my skimmer outside, but once I started using calc,
Mm-hmm.
I had to worry about pH.
So when I was using calc and hydroxides, and at one point in the CO2 scrubber, like I was hitting 8.5, 8.6. It was way up there. And now I'm at like 8.14. Like I'm like way lower because I took all that stuff off for now. And I'm kind of seeing, I've been slowly lowering my calcium reactor output and upping a bit dosing it a little bit, just trying to find this happy balance. I'm going to see where that levels out. Why?
Why?
I don't know. To see if it will up my pH and keep it all stable and happy.
Oh.
Who knows?
Why
I do
don't you
weird
just
things.
get-
I do every
Why-
few months. I just mix it up. Weird things, partially because of YouTube, partially because I like to experiment and know. So I just try different things.
Why not just get rid of the calcium reactor and just go with 2-part?
Because then it will get expensive. Calcium reactor is for when dosing seems very expensive.
Oh.
So, I mean, yes, I could use standard issue bulk 2-part. Right now I have all for Reef on there. I think I'm dosing like 80 mils a day and then the calcium reactor. What?
On the big tank, 80 mils?
Yeah, with on top of my like 20 something liters of calcium reactor. So we're seeing how that goes. But
80 mils.
my nano gets 2 or 3, and this tank gets, I don't know, 18 mils or something. So we're rocking about 100 mils a day across the 3 tanks.
I put a KH care on my kid's 25 Lagoon a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
So I'm waiting to see what the trend is before I start dosing the Alpha Reef. I also have to be careful with how you dose with that tank because it's in my kid's room, so I'm not testing like at night. I only test during the day. Like I test at 9 a.m. when I know they're at school, and then I test at 12, and then I test at 4, and then at 6. But I'm not testing anymore for the day because I don't want it going off when they're sleeping. But
what are you using? A Trident?
KH Carer.
Oh, KH Care. Is it loud or not bad?
It's not bad.
Okay.
On my unit in the living room, the loudest pump is when it's empty in the beaker. That pump is loud. In my kids' tank, the loudest is the pumps are actually not loud at all. It makes a little bit of whirring sound when it's actually stirring.
Okay.
But it's so when he had the Alcatronic, it was really loud, especially the pump that dosed because it was like But that pump is silent. It's amazing. The KH Care is it's much quieter than the Alcatronic. It's a little bit inconsistent.
Okay.
But when it was on sale for $300, man, like I wasn't missing that deal.
That's a good deal. That's not bad at all.
Yeah.
Anyone else suffering from a reefing slum in the winter? Finally caught my first stream of the year. Right. This is what you got to do. You got to join the streams and rev yourself back up and get back into it. Usually it's summertime slums, not winter slums for most people.
Yeah, I was just going to say that because in the winter, we're home. We're looking at our tanks. Like in the summer, I'm sorry, Dev. You probably wouldn't have caught me at home 7
Happens.
o'clock or 8 o'clock on
Yeah.
us in the sun because we're cooped up in the winter.
Hmm.
I know in the Northeast and the colder states, like this is what we do. But then once the summer rolls around, I want to be outside. Like,
Yeah.
forget this tank. Like, these animals are on their own. They
Yeah.
have heat, they have light, they have all the feeders. Good luck.
Yep. It's yeah. No, it definitely coasts more in the winter. I mean, in the
Oh,
summertime, where winter's more consistent. But yeah, like for me, like starting the new tank is like totally rev me back up again because I love the tank build. I love starting a reef tank. I think that's fun. You know, I love hunting coral again. Like that part's all fun for me. So starting the Goni tank has totally like reboosted up the passion more.
let me clarify something because I think Reef Keeper said something. He said, I'm surprised you say inconsistent. It's my most stable alg tester. It's my most stable alg tester. What I said inconsistent is between the two units, the amount of noise.
Hmm.
That's what I meant when I say inconsistent, not inconsistent in terms of testing. You're absolutely correct. I meant on my tank, on the one I have in the living room, it's the drain pump that's loud. Everything else is silent. On
Mhm.
my kid's tank, it's the stirrer that you hear the most.
Yeah.
So when it's stirring, and it could be also where it is, because here it's on the floor, and in my kids' room, it's on a like sitting on a shelf. So maybe the whirring from the motor just spinning is sitting on a wooden shelf. So maybe it's just reverberating. So it's you're absolutely correct. It is the most stable. Right now, I'm running a Trident, I'm running an IV, and I'm running KH Carer. And the KH Carer, that's the one I'm using to dose. So that should tell you how
Hmm.
much I trust it.
You can turn down the speed of the stir bar. There you go. And if you're really worried about vibration, get like a chunk of foam and put it underneath it, just to
You
dampen any
see,
vibration.
see this. I knew that that was a feature. I didn't think of it. So you see,
Win-win.
you see. This
Win-win.
is why we need the stream. And then I am the crazy guy like you. I know it's. I know you probably won't be able to see this. Well, my background isn't blurry, but I pipe everything into my I pipe everything into my hydros.
Mhm.
So I have, it's hard to see. So I have how many different alk testers now feeding into my hydros, so how many different pH and alk, I know that looks weird, but yeah,
Lots.
I know.
So wait. Are the multiple results from different tanks or all in the same tank?
Oh, you can, yeah, the hydros, you can pipe the KH Carer, Alcatronic, IV. You can take the pH and the test. So I'm piping everything in
Hmm.
to the hydros. I mean, I don't use so my kid's KH Carer result, the one that's red.
Yeah.
I'm not taking any action on it,
Hmm.
but it's yeah.
There's people in the chat that want the O tank tours. It's time to get your button gear and start putting some more content out on your channel, buddy.
You know what? That's absolutely right. I gotta be. Last year was a tough year reefing wise. My dad. I think I've said it before, but my dad passed last year, so
Mm.
I was a little embarrassed. But it's getting there again.
Mm.
Um, it's getting there. I think I'm happy um, with where the tank is at now. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you'll see more of it. I'm also redoing my office tank. I'm going to be using the Hello Reef kit.
Nice.
So,
We can have some Hello Reef growouts. You can join me in my club.
oh, I'm going to win.
Bring it on.
All
Although my
good.
tank already has a passive head start, so it just
That's
coasting
all
now.
right. It's the O method.
The Gonies are growing.
Oh,
Stuff's
and
filling
you know
in.
what? I wonder if I should. Oh, you're losing. I wonder if I should get a
Is yours even
KH
set up
Carer
yet?
for the office. I wonder if I should get. I wonder if they have any more KH Carers. I should get one for the office tank.
Yep. We need realistic tanks, not Instagram tanks.
Oh, they still have them.
Okay.
Oh, Dev,
Wait,
you're in
wait.
trouble.
Wait. Okay, Ryan, this is a good little side rabbit hole. We need realistic tanks, not Instagram tanks. Keeping it real.
I don't know what that means.
I know. I'm trying to decide what that means too. What would you consider my
Oh.
tanks? Is my tanks realistic or is it Instagram tanks?
I don't know.
You can rate my three tanks, Ryan. I'm curious. What
I
is
don't
the
know.
difference?
I know this is a horrible video, but is that my tank a real tank or it's an Instagram tank? I mean, It is. I have a mix of like stuff that's fully grown out and then
Hmm.
stuff that's dead, and I clipped it. So that's why I think my tank is inconsistent, because I have stuff that's been in there a while that's like fully grown out, and then
Hmm.
stuff that's like frags.
Yeah.
So when you look at like Dev's tank, it's mature, and it's obviously that it's mature because you have everything fully grown out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think my tank, to me, it just looks inconsistent because it just, again, you have stuff that you'd see like the green slimer and
Hmm.
like the Jason Fox haterade. Those things are huge. And then you have stuff that's like frags, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't know what an Instagram tank is. What is that?
Not part of the meticulous club, as Vic would say. I mean,
Oh, hell no.
dude, do you know how
Hell
long
no.
it's been since I've neglected my big water box tank? It's been an autopilot since having a kid, like tons. Like, what is this? Okay,
Oh,
here's the tank beside me. I just have the photo of. That's my office Goni tank in the making, minus my torches and my mushroom rock. The rest is all Gonis. And then
Dupree makes fun of me all the time where he says, dude, clean your glass.
you're gonna say that about my nano right now, but and then the other side we got the nano. Yes, I need to clean my glass. We can kind of see. Yeah, I don't know. I'd say they're pretty keeping it real tanks.
Yeah, I don't know. Are they Instagram tanks? I don't know.
Reef
I don't
Keeper
know.
is the king of Instagram tanks. Yeah, I agree.
What's an Instagram tank?
Phil's tank.
You know what, man?
So many nice
I
tank in today's world.
I
I
feel
I would say where it's just like a rainbow of the little like 1 inch pinner colorful frags. I would almost say that's one where people just buy corals for the the what's trending in the likes and not like an established tank. Or maybe I don't know if this would be, but I know some people too who like frag a coral the second it grows a branch and try and sell it, and that they never have stuff that grows out. I don't know if I'd consider that Instagram tank, but those are the two I'd say. Like,
I will never ever talk down on somebody for the type of tank they have. I think it's your tank.
yep.
This is the first. I think I've been reefing 10 years, and
Hmm.
this is the last 3 years. Actually, this tank, this 150, which is 2+ years old now. This is the first time I am trying to grow out Acropora, right?
Yep.
And frankly, it's not going well because I change things too much. I mess with it so much. So it hasn't gone well. It's been very stop and start. But like Reef Keeper, man, I feel like I've been following that guy for a decade. I feel like
Yeah.
every tank he sets up, and I know I've heard people say this that, oh, he has tanks already, move stuff in. Like, no. Every
It's
tank
called
he
the blue
sets up, you
thumb.
can,
Like you got the
yeah,
green thumb for
blue
gardening.
thumb.
Yeah, Phil's got the blue thumb.
Every tank he sets up, you kind of expect it to be.
Beautiful.
But do you know? So guys like Reef Keeper, guys like Greg, and some of those guys who grow up nice tanks. You know what the common denominator between those guys? Patience. That's
Yeah.
the common denominator. Like they don't get something happens. When Reef Keeper had acro eating flatworms, I've seen people break tanks down because of it. He's like, oh man, I just dip. He just went through a regimen of like dipping, dipping, dipping until he
Yeah.
got them under control. So
That's also a good
I'm all
point,
right,
Phil.
man.
Phil's also okay, he says, I'm also retired. My tank didn't look like my tanks now when I was working full time. Yeah. More free time to putter and like perfect things definitely doesn't hurt.
You reef, however, your lifestyle dictates whether
100%.
it's nice looking, whether it looks. The spousal factor
Hmm.
also affects it because my tank is in my living room, and now my wife is on me
Hmm.
for like, okay, dude, now the tank got to look. So I'm actually in the process of doing some projects now where, I'm gonna put. I use styrofoam is what my tank sits on my stand. So now to hide the styrofoam, I went and got like I'm gonna be doing some aesthetic upgrades to the tank. So it's about time.
Yep. No, that's good.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean,
Also,
you need
just one other thing that old school
is
new venture says: a snapshot in time. The tank you're looking at is a snapshot in time. I think we should remember that there are times when you feel absolutely wonderful about the tank, and then there's times where it doesn't look its best. So you're right. A picture or a video of a tank is a snapshot in time.
yep, exactly. 100% is. And the thing is too, like you got to consider your lifestyle and how much time you have, and create a reef tank that fits that, right? Like don't make something that requires, tons and tons of time if you don't have lots of time, right? Keep it, more basic, happier, easier corals that aren't demanding, and then you'll enjoy your tank more because you're not fighting stuff constantly. It's like reefing within your means or your lifestyle or your time, however you want to say it. But
I've seen
mm-hmm.
whatever you call like softy tanks
Yep.
that make me stop and go, whoa, that's
Mm-hmm.
a really nice tank.
Yep.
I've seen, Zoa tanks, Zoa dominated tanks that stop you in your track. So whatever you decide to do, however you decide to go, just do the best
Yep.
you can. I'm trying.
Yep.
God help me.
Yeah, gotta do what you gotta do. Do what you can. So many beautiful reefs out there. Yeah, 100%. Like, I don't know, would you consider Goni tank like an easier tank? Like, I'm really
No.
appreciating, I guess, I don't know. Gonis for me have never been that hard. Like, there's always a chance of you get one and it's a bit flaky if it wasn't, you don't know its history or how it was, freshly imported, blah, blah, blah. But aside from that, like, once they've been in there for a week or two, I always find them to be pretty easy from my experience. So,
The reason I say no, I'm going to tell you, I'm a little having PTSD now. Why I say no,
mhm,
because if we were having this conversation 5 months ago, I think
yeah,
I would have had a different response. I recently took a nano down. I had, you know what a baseball is? I had Gonis that people sold me as like a frag, and I grew it out to, I would say, like a baseball size. And then one day I got up and it was just a white piece of rock. Don't know. That one hurt, right? Because you grew something from a frag, right? And
yeah,
that took like 6 years. That took like years to grow a Ghani from a frag into something baseball size. I don't know about you, but that's not overnight.
hmm
So, and then I lost another one like that. So, I don't know, man. It's probably because I got a wild Ghani and put it
hmm
in the same tank,
yeah,
but that hurt. So I don't
hmm
think I so when I try to project my own feelings on you talking about like something wild and out, that's where it comes from. If me just like within the course of a month, three Ghani's that I've had for a while, and then I put a wild one in it trying to create a rainbow, and then I just
yeah,
they all went up in smoke, you know.
hmm yep. How old of a tank should you be to have Acropora? You could throw Acropora in a brand new tank. It is it will likely not thrive right off the bat. If That being said, if you had a tank with only coral in it and no fish, I bet you it'd be fine. I don't think it would die. I think it'd be fine. It probably wouldn't thrive right away. That being said, if you add enough coral, you're going to add a bunch of bacteria diversity that might actually kick it off right away. Now, if you're adding fish to the tank and all the other stuff, that's the cycling the tank is more for the fish than it is for the coral. Like, I know I've told the story before, but like way back in the day, I had like a giant chunk of acro that lived in a 5 gallon bucket with like a heater and a power head for like a month. So I mean, it definitely doesn't. I This is when I had it down. I was upgrading to a bigger tank, and I bought something off somebody. It was too big to fit my tank, so I was like, oh. So I just lived in a bucket with a power head and a light and an XR15 hanging above it for like a month until I got my bigger tank. So it definitely doesn't need an age established tank. That being said, the older and more mature your tank is, the better luck you'll have of adding in it just being happy and surviving right away. But even then, I've had some corals where like you can add one frag in and it just puddles, explodes, and another one will do nothing for like 4 months until it settles, and then it'll start growing.
It's interesting. I I've always, in the past, whenever I've seen someone grab like a colony from a tank
Mm,
and put it in something like a frag tank, it never seems to do well. But I don't remember who I was having the conversation with, and the person said it's probably a flow issue because in a shallow nano tank, you probably don't have as much flow because you're expecting like 1 inch frags. But when that, if you're growing out an Acropora to a certain size, it probably had a ton of flow in the tank to get to the size it is. And then
Mhm.
you took it from where it has high flow moving all around it to this frag tank where the water is barely moving. So probably in a lot of instances that people describe like putting new things in a new tank, it's probably a flow issue. Could
Mhm.
be a lighting issue, but I think nothing dies. If you give something low light, it'll survive way longer than overlighting it.
Mhm.
So I think the flow is probably a bigger issue than people think.
Yeah, likely, especially as it grows out long term. Like I look at my tank when it was, a young buck and everything's tiny and there's tons of flow. But now, you look at how big the red dragon was. It was like literally like this. Like it's a wall that no flow is penetrating. And I fragged it down to like basically nothing and just put a few branches in to let it regrow. But the whole center of it, like it looked massive, but the center 40% was just skeleton, right? All the stuff you see, look,
Really?
yep. Yeah, I tossed probably like more than half of it because it was like everything you saw looked beautiful, but you don't see the backside. You don't see the base of it, and a lot of it was just, brown old skeleton. So I was like, well, might as well thin this out, add a bunch of flow to my tank, let's let it regrow. Because it was just, now my tank looks so much bigger and more open in that spot. But it was a wall against the flow, which was choking out all the other corals.
The same thing happened with rock. I learned that when I had that murderous powder blue and I needed to take him out. So I had to dismantle some of the rock I had and I didn't bother putting a lot of it back in. And when I turned the pumps on, I realized, like, my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't like the rock was directly blocking the pump. It wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
It just stopped the water from doing its, laminar flow. And it just affected everything. So I had to turn everything down.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
No, it's true. They're
Yeah.
important things.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah, flow. I'd say one of the hardest things having the peninsula tank long term is the flow as the tank gets older, because you want to get flow, 6 feet down the tank, but as everything creates a big wall, it's a lot more for that flow to push through. And I'm stubborn and refuse to put any pumps on the far end of my tank, so it's a battle. So part of me is like, all right, it's time to start hacking some coral back.
You know what you need? You know what you need. You
Your
know I'm going to
giant
tell
pump
you
that
what you
would be
need.
half my tank.
No, you need a Pentaray.
Yeah, giant pump that's half the tank.
No, like no.
How big are they?
How? No, the Pentaray comes out about
It's
6 or 7
huge.
inches. Yeah, but your overflow box. You have the water
It's like
box
that.
that. Okay, but do you want the flow to reach the other end of the tank or don't you?
It does with my MP60s. I mean, it's way better now that I took away one of the walls that was blocking it.
I'm sorry, Dev. Me and you, we're gonna talk offline. You need to get in the Pentaray club.
You're too rich
Like
for my blood.
you have a Pentaray going all the way to the end, man. At ECM 63, you don't know what you're missing out.
If I put one on the stair side of my tank where you didn't see it, really, it wouldn't be as bad. If I wouldn't put on the living room side.
Yeah. And then you just put the MPC. So it's going to bounce and come all the way. So
Does it destroy
how
your
big is the
sand
water
bed
body?
and mess up all your other stuff?
Well, I can't speak to that.
Yep.
Listen, I'm just saying, like, do you want flow? Are you interested in saving a sand bed, or do you want to avoid pumps on the peninsula side as much as possible? You can't have both. You have to pick one.
How much is that MP6? How much is that versus the MP60? More than double.
Yeah, but it also does 15,000 gallons an hour.
What's my MP60 do? I don't remember.
Do you do, do do you see when worldwide coral?
7,500.
No, the ECM 63 is
Oh, wait.
2,300. What are you looking at?
No. I'm looking at the MP60.
Oh, MP.
9,000. How much does that do?
Believe me, 15,000 gallons per hour. And trust me,
Yep.
I think we're talking different classes here. Trust me when I say
Well,
this is what you need.
yeah, but it's like so expensive. But it's also the shape of it, right? Like the MP60 is wider. That's more of like a friggin' jet stream going down the tank.
That's why you replace one of the MP60s with this, and you can actually program it so it pulses.
I could just
Y-
buy a whole new tank for the price of that pump.
All right, so, I'm fighting a losing battle here. Greg,
That's too rich for my blood. But I appreciate the sentiment, though. It would be fun to have one and play with it. But I cannot bring myself to spend a couple grand on a pump. I just can't.
your two Vortex are, you know,
I already have them. And two of them are cheaper than one of those.
okay. Let's just do this. How many watts is an MP60?
I will go look.
An MP60 is 60 watts maximum.
Yep.
This thing is 120 watts. It's double the output.
And double the
I'm telling
price
you.
or more.
I'm telling you,
It
man,
adds
the
up.
output. This is the last pump you'll ever buy. I guarantee it.
Trade me yours. What do you want?
No.
What are you doing with it on a 4-foot tank anyways? You crazy man. What are you running at like
Did I tell you
4%?
Did I tell you the joke when I first turned it on? Even though I have a Euro brace, I didn't realize it was going to come on at 100%. I think I ended up with like 10 gallons on the floor. And so my tank came with Euro brace on 3 sides,
Mm-hmm.
and silly me again programmed it to go in reverse. So I ended up having to put a Euro brace on the other side to prevent, because I run it forward for 3 minutes and reverse for 3 minutes.
At 4%? Okay, fine, 5.
Listen, trust me, this is the only pump you'll ever need. You'll never buy another pump, Dev. Trust me when I say that. Trust me.
I could get that. Someone emailed me about some other
Yeah.
tank today. That's
Yeah.
set, was it 120 gallons per minute? I could just put one of those babies in a closed loop. That would be insane too. You know,
And also mine, it's come with a box that I'm waiting from Joe from Unique Corals to get it, where you can actually make a surge device. You just take the same EC. Why are you laughing, dude? Why are you laughing? I don't understand.
No, I was laughing at comment. Just install an engine from a little fishing boat, bro.
It's silent. Oh,
It is not sleek though. It is big.
Yeah, but I put it behind the rock. The magnets. When I was taking it off the other day to clean,
You lost
the
a finger?
magnet. Do you see how the finger is crooked? The magnets took off. Do you see how there's a little piece of finger missing? The magnet took a piece of my finger off.
Way to
It's
sell
so
it.
strong. No. This
You
was the two
will
magnets.
lose a finger, but you will have flow.
Ugh.
Yeah, I know. I'm just bugging you.
I think it's big.
Mm-hmm.
I think I put it behind the rock, but in all honesty, it's well worth it.
Yeah,
It's the last pump you'll ever buy.
maybe one day. I'm still too poor for that. When you decide to get rid of yours, and I'll trade you something for it, and then I'll play with your old one.
No, hey man, I still have something sitting here. You know what? I need to get it to you before these tariffs kick in.
I don't know if it counts on used stuff, but
See,
the last puppers will be dead. Yeah, pretty much.
so just so I get you in public, so you can't deny it anymore, because I think we have different conversations in public versus private. Is this Red Dragon pump gonna work for you?
I don't know. I'm questioning your 220 volt pump on my 120 volt circuit.
Can you ask somebody? You know people, right? You know folks. Can you ask?
I probably could, but general electronic knowledge says when you half the voltage, you half the RPMs and you half the flow. So I'm like, is it different windings for 120? Now, if it's using a DC power break, it will. Okay, well, we'll see. This is why I'm not in a rush to trade you, because it's not like I need it. It's just like, okay. Yep.
Yeah, man, I'm disappointed in you, Dev.
What do you mean you're disappointed in me?
I'm disappointed in you, man. I'm disappointed.
I have a question. Need opinions. What you got, Grim? We're so off topic. We will research this later. It looks like a ceramic disc by the transformer and the power lines. Yeah, so I'm just speaking general electronic knowledge. I don't know if the specifics is something different in this pump. If it was a brick that converted to DC, it would be irrelevant, but I know it's not. I know it's an AC pump. That's why I question it.
So I have a response here, Dev, which I am going to text you, where Royal Exclusive, I mean,
Forward it to me.
responded to me and say,
Forward me
it's
the
in the
response. I want their
it's in
exact
the-
wording.
it's in the Royal Exclusive group.
Yeah.
I just texted it to you,
Mm-hmm.
and I know they probably don't answer the questions that you're asking,
Mm-hmm.
but this guy said yes, it will work.
Will it work at full normal values, or will it work at half the speed?
That's not what I asked.
I work in IT. One of my customers is an electrical engineering company. I will ask them about this when I go visit them next and see their.
Okay. How do you share? Can you share stuff in the Royal Exclusive?
I don't know. Just screenshot it. Or
I did
send
send
me a
you.
link.
I sent you a screenshot.
Okay, reefing question. Grim 2.0. I left reefing a few years ago trying to get back into it. Things have changed a little. Red Sea versus Nios versus MaxFest versus Cade. I'm assuming we're talking about tanks here, given the brands of Cade's included, because they're only a tank company. I have never personally used a Cade, but lots of people seem to rave about them. They seem to be very good value bang for your buck. Max Spec will also be a good bang for your buck kind of a tank. Red Sea and Nios are going to be more premium. They're going to pay a bit more for them. I've only had Red Sea Nanos. Red Sea did have some issues with the really big tanks a while ago, but I'm assuming that's all been remedied by now. They are nice tanks, but there was some seeming issues in the past. Nios is definitely a premium brand. I have a Nios tank. I do love them. I think they make good stuff. There's my quick and dirty brain dump. What do you got? What's your view? Secondary opinion.
I think for the most part I would agree.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know if I would trust Red Sea these days. I'm sorry to say that, but oh my gosh, I don't know.
Personally, I would pick Waterbox over Red Sea, given their track record, and I've never seen a Waterbox fail. Where I've seen some horror stories with Red Sea, but again, that was some of the larger tanks. The nano tank, I wouldn't worry about it. If you're going for 5-foot plus tanks, take that into consideration.
If you ask me if budget wasn't an issue out of all those tanks, I would go with the Nios Max Spec. The Nios and the Max Spec. Red Sea and Waterbox, I consider very similar. I think Red Sea is slightly nicer, right? There's some polishing that's nicer.
I don't know. But Waterbox is pretty. I would probably pick Waterbox because I have one. I have a 6-foot Waterbox and it's a beauty. And it's been solid. There's been zero issues. I've been super happy with it.
That's what I was going to add and say. I think over the last couple of years, I think Waterbox has sold just as many tanks as Red Sea. You don't hear a recurring issue with whether they're better at managing PR. I don't think so. But how many times have you heard of Waterbox tanks just leaking and just doing something?
I haven't heard
you
of
have
a single
not.
one.
I know Red Sea probably outsells them. I don't think it's a factor of 10 or I don't know what the factor is, but you have not heard issues about red Waterbox tanks leaking. Yep. So that's out of everything on that list. I would probably put Red Sea at the bottom, but I've been at the Reefapalooza and I've seen the Nios. That's nice. I've seen the Max Spec where there's a little cool pull-out drawer for you to put your cables. So there's nice features. The Cade, I've seen the Cade at the shows. I really think there's a little bit of so I like those tanks.
Yeah. The other kind of funky thing is I go for the thinner tanks. Like I do the Waterbox, everything's streamlined. On the Nios tank, I went for the chunky one, and the tank insets like that, and the stand comes around it, which is different. So I literally decided to go with the Pro line just because it was different. I was like, hey, this is cool. It's a funky look that's different from all the other tanks that I have, and I think it's kind of sexy in its own unique way.
Glass cages built by tank, I like it. Yeah. If I had to, I also like Greg's tank, which is, I forgot who made it, Oceanic, where it has a it has a PVC bottom that actually flexes. So if I had to get a tank now, I think I would get custom, and it would be the only two people I would consider would be glass cages than Oceanic. I think Oceanic built Greg's tank.
Mhm.
I don't remember. No, AGE built Greg's tank.
Yep.
AGE, not Oceanic. So I think those are the only two folks. Those are AGE. Sorry,
Mhm.
I corrected myself.
Yep.
Those are the only two people who would be on my list
Yeah.
for building a custom tank for me.
Yeah. Planet Aquarium is supposed to be pretty good too. Who else we got?
We didn't mention Innovative Marine,
They,
which I think are great value.
they're good
So
bang
the
for buck.
price, yeah, I don't know why I didn't think of them. Like nobody dominates nanos, I think, more than Innovative Marine. And I think when you order Innovative Marine, it gets shipped directly to you.
Mm-hmm.
And as an account of that, like the price of Innovative Marine dropped by a lot a few years ago. I think because of inflation, you're not seeing that savings anymore. But man,
Yep.
the price of Innovative Marine was way higher. And
Mhm.
those tanks are built like tanks, like they're built really well.
Yep.
Again, for the amount of tanks Innovative Marine sells, both from nanos to big, how many times do you hear of an Innovative Marine tank failing?
I
I
had
don't know
one.
any stories
I
that
had
failed.
one. Yeah.
That
But
failed.
that was way back in the day when they had the bent glass corner tanks.
Same
So,
thing, glass cages. Before Joe took it over, you heard
yeah.
a lot of things about glass cages. So
Yep.
if that's back in the day, but the Red Sea, I'm sorry, it feels like I'm crapping on Red Sea, but
So, okay. Innovative Marine Tank. So I had the original, the Nuvo. I had the 16 and the 24. I actually had both sizes of the bent glass ones, and the 24 one cracked on me, like a stress crack on the seam. But I wouldn't hesitate to buy one of the. I wouldn't buy a curved glass tank again. I'm like scarred and tainted, but I wouldn't hesitate to buy the flat glass one because there's no stress points, right? And I still love the Lagoon tanks. I think they're awesome.
I told you what I did. I bought a Lagoon. I don't think they make the EXTs anymore, so I bought my Lagoon and I went to town with it. I cut out the baffles.
Mm-hmm.
It was really messy, and then drilled it. Put one of the Aqua overflow kits on it. Put a sump on it, and now it's working wonderful.
Yeah, nice.
Innovative Marine.
Yep. Okay. Question: good idea or bad idea to remove old live rock from the sump in order to keep the sump clean? It depends how much. If you have tons of rock in your display, you probably don't need it in your sump. If you're ever starting a new tank, it's a great way to insta-tank it. If it's trapping a ton of detritus and other stuff, yes, there could be an issue. It's probably helping your system. But again, if there's lots of rock in your display, you can probably remove it and your tank's probably fine. And there's less stuff to catch detritus, more or less. So it's one of those it depends questions.
That's true.
Yeah, curved tanks are bad for cleaning, bad for photography. My fish were freaked out every time I had curved glass. Okay, the one I had was only curved for like that inch of corner. It wasn't like the whole tank. Like a bow front tank, yeah, they're a pain to clean and service, and yeah, distort stuff for better or for worse.
I don't think I would ever even consider. I know those corner tanks, a lot of people love them, but
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it wouldn't be my first choice. I think flat glass is just my preferred way. I'll probably put rock in the sump, then use the rock in the display after the transfer of rocks into a frag tank, quarantine, fast starting. Yeah. If you're I'm gonna do bare bottom.
I just need the bacteria to replicate, so you can put it there for a while, and then once you think that the tank is stable, then you slowly take it out.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that works.
Yep.
I think you can get the same bio. I bought the little, I think it's a Polyplab little, what is it? The Polyplab little things. Like it's a nice little kit where you put,
those super
you get
dense
some bricks. Yes, and then you put them in a little container and you stick them in a corner of the sump. I bought them last year from Reefapalooza. Those things are heavy, almost put me overweight, but that's a whole nother story. But they think I had to stick one in my pocket. Yeah. It's not good.
Yeah. How do you light your sump? Okay, sorry, go ahead.
No. But yeah, they're fine. I don't like rock in my sump. I think it's a little too messy. But in the past, I used to use Marine Pure, which I think disintegrates too much. Mm-hmm. Now I have the Polyplab, but I also keep a container with those little bricks because in the past, whenever you need to spin up a new tank, they've come in handy. Like if I need to quarantine something, I have a 10-gallon quarantine hidden in a closet somewhere. So I'll just pull it out, put a power head, and drop a couple of those on him. And if I need to medicate, I just throw them away. I don't put them back in the tank. So
Yep.
I actually like keeping about 20 of those bio balls. They last a long time.
Yep.
And you just use them to spit up insta tanks when you need it.
That works. Good way to do it. So,
Yeah.
random question: how do you light your sump? I have these little things like all over the place. They're just little USB chargeable motion lights, and they're great because you magnet them and put the magnet sticky stuff on the top of your sump, and then just whenever senses motion, it lights up. Super easy.
Really?
And every
How
like
long
3
does
or
it
4
stay on
months, I
for?
just charge it. I don't know, a couple months, but it's like super bright. So I just pop one of those on each one of my cabinets, and the second I open it and put my hand in there, it lights up. And after 30, 45 seconds, no motion, it turns off. So I use these stupid little things like all over in cabinets. And there's a magnet that goes, you put on the top. So just pop it off and then USB charge it. And then easy peasy. So that's how I use these things everywhere. I used to get fancy with like sensors and stuff, but these are just convenient.
Someone gave me like a strip light, and I just put it around the edge of the sump. And you can control it by Alexa. That's what I muted earlier because I didn't want to tell everyone's Alexa to do something.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I use. And I just put timers on it. Like it turns off the sump. No matter what I'm doing during the day, it turns off the sump light at 12 a.m.
Yeah,
So
works.
it doesn't on. Yeah. And then it turns it on at about, no matter what's happening, it turns it on at about 6 p.m. So I can keep eyes. So, I think yours will work. Mine will work. I just use what I use because someone gave it to me. I had strip light sitting here.
Yep.
Where do you get that, on Amazon?
Yeah, like here. Here you go. Here is a 6-pack for $33. They're cheap. Cheap.
Cheap. Not something you hear a lot in our hobby, right?
There you go. There's a link. 6-pack for $33. They're super cheap and easy. And they're USB chargeable. Oh no, the ones I sent are battery operated. There's a battery version and a USB version. Pick your poison. But they're just super easy. I use them in closets. I use them all over the place because they're just convenient. Getting to tariffs in the chat. Dun dun dun. The receiving country, whatever one's charging is the one that sucks. So hopefully, I don't know. They said they were coming, then they said they're delayed, and who knows. But yeah, it's gonna suck for like everything, pretty much.
MP has a question. Can the Panta Ray send flow 9 feet? Reef Keeper saying that. So look at some of his videos. Also look at the Worldwide Corals videos of the different tanks they have, including going back to their old 12-footer. That's what they use as the majority flow on it. So I think it can because I've never used mine over like 40%. So I imagine, I think so.
So it's above 5. Yeah, probably.
When I had frags, it was the only pump I was using.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason I don't have it higher is because it'll just push flow. It bounces and does like a circular motion. Is because if I turn it up any higher, it'll literally push water out of the Eurobrace, and there's too much salt creep, so I turn it down a lot. But Greg said 9 feet. He would go with the Abyss.
There you go. Than says it could do 10 feet.
Abyss flow. It's called a flow cannon, right?
My problem with these pumps, like, yes, they do a lot, but they're massive.
Well, what do you expect? It's come on.
I do not like to see gear in my tank. The Biz flow cannon is like freaking like a beast.
The flow cannon is even more. It's actually 150 watts. Whoa.
So
yes, they are a lot. But come on, like,
well,
you can't have your cake and eat it too. You want no pumps on the peninsula side,
nothing visible.
But you want
I don't even want to see gear in my
pump.
tank. I don't want to see any equipment. I want a pristine chunk of ocean with no visible gear. That's what I would like.
You can't have it both ways.
Well, why not?
You can't have it both ways.
Holy crap, $3,200 US for that flow cannon. Whew.
Look at the Panta Ray. Like, come on, like it's
same thing, same. $2,300,
depends.
$1,000 less, $900 less. It does look smaller and it's black. The flow cannon's stainless looking, which would stand out with lights.
The flow cannon is considerably larger. You also get more. But if you're trying to push water 10 feet, does 10 inches really matter?
Yes.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
I am not a normal hobbyist. I'm very like weird and particular certain things. Like the amount of times I've upgraded equipment to make it quieter and quieter. It's yeah.
I agree with that. Like, get a bigger tank and make it look smaller. That's
It's all in perspective. Hide it behind a rock.
yeah.
Yep. There you go.
This thing,
nitrox. Yeah.
I don't use a cage.
Mhm.
It's chewed up fish, but that's not why. I think it's just sick fish. If you have a sick fish, there was a fish that was struggling, and of course the panta ray got him, but the fish was struggling before. So I think putting the cage on the panta ray just makes it look way bigger than it needs to be.
Yep.
But
Speaking of that, I agree. Like when people be like, "Oh, this Powerhead, like took out my fish." It's like the fish was sick and not doing well. I literally saw my Mandarin Dragonet eating pods within an inch of my MP60 the other day. And that baby's at like 80%. And if a Dragonet can swim away for him, I'm like, okay, there's obviously not sucking in fish willy-nilly. And I've seen fish just like picking off like algae off of it right beside it or on the Powerhead. I'm like, that's a lot of flow they're fighting there.
my hawkfish
Yep.
literally sits on the MP60.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's sometimes he sit on it. When it's in about 60%, like yes, he'll sit on it. So you're right. Like sometimes you see fish and you can tell when a fish not doing well but
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
No, exactly. But yeah, that was just, I don't know, when you said that, because I've seen people be like, oh, the Powerhead took out my fish. But I'm like, hey, the fish was obviously not doing well in the beginning. Like it could have been, the last straw, but a healthy fish can deal with the flow. And especially, I don't know, some of the stuff that I've seen beside my pumps, I was like, I'm surprised how they're so willy-nilly, like basically touching it, like do-do-do-do. So
They're used to the flow.
Yep.
Imagine the amount of water that's moving past them.
Yep. Yeah. Greg, 100% on that one. Phosgard is aluminum oxide. It's kind of like GFO, but aluminum based. And yes, that can absolutely affect your aluminum reading in ICP.
Listen, I think you should get the main takeaway from tonight is Dev's in the market for a new pump, and I
He's
think
not really,
the Panta Ray is on the thing.
When you decide to trade me yours, I will happily assess it.
You know what?
I'll trade you something. What do you need?
I got a 2% coupon. I got a 5% coupon. I will. All right.
We gotta change these streams to just like Devin and no ranting. Guessing.
This is what you need to move to the next level.
Yeah. It's great. I love it.
So the reason I felt like investing in this pump is this is a forever pump. I'm going to take this with me no matter where I go.
Your kids will inherit it.
Probably. I don't think they're interested in reefing, but who knows?
This would be ridiculous. I thought about this, but it would be funny to take one of these pumps and put it on like a little like fishing dinghy or rubber dinghy or something. I had this idea for fun, like way back in the day, of a video of using an aquarium pump for it. I never got around to it, but one day I think it'd be funny to take like one of these hardcore Powerheads and just use it on a boat in the water.
One of the Powerheads?
I was gonna do it with like one of the the Vectra pumps at one point. Just to try it. I was making this funny video for like a giveaway, and I was like, oh, you could do all these things with it, and I like made a shower with it, and I did all these like stupid pointless things just for fun in like the contest video. And then I had this like dinghy boat idea, but then I don't like had a battery that was like at the time.
Hey, battery backup.
I know that I have them now, but I didn't then. But
I think this was a Reef Builders video where Jake went somewhere. I was feeding reef roids in the ocean, and I thought that was hilarious because I was like, "What is he doing? What is he doing?"
I remember that one. That was funny.
Oh, I thought that was hilarious. I don't know if he meant it to be funny, but I had a good chuckle.
I think Polyplab sponsored the trip, so he's just doing it for fun.
I That was a good shout.
Yeah, I thought it was great too. Made me laugh.
Mhm.
So overkill, but great.
Ryan has a question. This is an interesting question.
Opinions on halides and tank size. Have you had one? I have a 250 DE 14K. I never have used halides. They were like, I started with like, more like LEDs and T5s and like that kind of era. Halides to me always were just, tons of wattage and tons of heat. And so I've never ventured down that road. Tons of people love them. Supposedly Tulio has some new ones that are not so hot and blah, 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 and work better. Haven't seen them in person, so I can't say for sure. But I've personally avoided them because of a lot of those issues. Now, that being said, if you live in the right climate and you have the right space, it can be rather efficient on a large system versus a bazillion LEDs. So, I mean, it's one of those situation things. But personally, I would just stick to LEDs these days. But some people love them.
You're being extremely diplomatic.
As
I think if you have the ballast sitting there and the bulb sitting there, then absolutely put them on your tank. But if you're talking about investing, why investing in a technology that's dying? And when I have conversations with people who are like people who have been in the hobby long enough, who've used metal halides, who grew up on them, the thing that they say to me is the brands that are making bulbs now, it's kind of weird to them that people get excited about them because those were the brands that no one would touch back in the day. Like people wouldn't touch you. You would thumb their nose up. Yeah, and those are the only option to show you that everyone else has left the market. Plus, I think it's maybe not environment is not the word, but I think they're not making new ones, right? Anymore. So people aren't making metal halide bulbs for the aquarium hobby. We're too small.
Yep.
So I think it's a dying tech. I think one day it's going to go, but I wouldn't invest. I wouldn't invest in something that's going away. Like, I don't know. I know LEDs are expensive, but there's so many options out there.
Yeah, you have everything from budget to as much as you want to spend. Like, there is all spectrums. You got your cheap China lights, everything in between. The fancy brands.
Can't say that. If you're looking for the metal halide look, like I've seen, what is it called? So Luca, what is it? Luca. I know his name is Luca, man. I forgot the name of his company, but he made like the industrial looking metal halide lights.
Yeah.
Man, can somebody in the chat please tell me? I'm really
Quanta.
The Quanta lights. Quanta lights. Yeah, he makes he started with the Reef bar, but he makes the Quanta, and he makes he made like something that looks, man, which one of his lights is it? It's not the Pro. Somebody said Luka Doncic. I don't remember which light it is, but he makes something that Quanta Atlas. The Quanta Atlas. Thank you, Greg. The Quanta Atlas LED. It's very industrial looking. It's LEDs, but if you're looking for that metal halide look, and from the people who, like Smoking Reefer, some of the people who we know, it's a very metal halide look, not only in terms of the fixture, but also in terms of the output and the light color. So I think it's, from what I see with the power numbers, it's worth a look. So if you're looking for, if you like the metal halide look, the ballast look, then there's options out there for you.
Yeah.
He's US based, so you should be under warranty, someone who will help you with the lights, because again, from what I never personally bought anything from the company, but from the people who did say, you can message him, you can talk to him, he's on social media. So if you're looking for that metal halide look, there's options out there.
All right, Tom. Okay, what do you think about the AI blade?
Love them. I got so many of them.
Within arm's reach.
So many of them. Like, I am a glow flag. I think they do well with the purples. I'm in the process of trying something different with the main tank, so I just took them off.
Mm-hmm.
But love the glows. I have radions, and this gives you an extra pop, an extra fluorescence. So I love the glows.
Yeah, I had the glows beside my radions for fill in my prior tank. And then a few weeks back, I had Dimitri on my stream, and he only runs them. He's obsessed with them. He just absolutely loves
With
them.
the glows, no grow.
No, he does both. I think he alternates them. I think. I'll have to double check, but he only runs them. The fact that there's no fan, I freaking love too, because they're dead quiet.
So when I had my refugium, I actually bought the blade freshwater, and this is what I used on my refugium. Grew the heck out of Chato, because I don't want to use purple, and I don't want my refugium purple. So I actually used the blade white. The blade freshwater is what I used on my my. It gave a nice white color. You can adjust the spectrum, but yeah.
Yep. Very
So
nice.
yeah, it's weird how I have all of these within arm's reach, right?
How convenient.
I know, right?
Yep. Sean loved Kessels. I've never personally owned a Kessil. That's one I just never have, but
Dear to my heart.
you love the
The
shimmer?
reason I'm not, my wife loves them because they're these really, they're point source and they look so
Mm-hmm.
light and small if you mount them over your tank.
Yep.
Excuse me. So my wife loves them for that.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up in the Caribbean, when you're out there, nothing matches that. When I was in Jamaica last year or 2023, time flies, and I sat down on the beach like midday, and you saw the shimmer lines.
Mm-hmm.
Man, Kessil is the only light that can recreate that.
If you have multiples, does it still have the same effect?
Yes, yes. So the other thing now is I had a Kessil on my Nano in my living room. We had to get rid of it because at this point now it gives at the point where we are in our lives, like the shimmer in the evenings, especially when you go all blues, man, that thing gives us a headache.
Really, eh?
Yeah, it does. But yeah, you get the shimmer line and they cross when you have multiple shimmer. It's just if you want to have an SPS tank, I think you're gonna be using multiple to get like to reduce shadowing. I'm also I know those A360Xs came out a few years now, but I'm a little disappointed in Kessil that they were the only premium light that were released around the time. Yeah,
that was my
didn't
gripe
have a
always.
Oh my gosh, Kessil, seriously, dude.
Building control, like what does it cost you? Like it always bothered me that you had to buy a stupid dongle or wire the lights together. It's like this should just work. Okay,
well, we should give them credit. Not only that, when they came out, so a Kessil. Let me just look up the price so I actually get my work because the words here is really important. So a Kessil A360X is $450. Then you have to pay $100 for the dongle. The Kessil A360, in their defense, they've held the price. They haven't raised the price on the lights since it came out. So good for them. While the Radions and everything else have gone up, right? Above it, the Kessil has stayed the same. When the Kessil came out, it was more expensive than the Radion.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, I couldn't see paying more for a Kessil than the Radion, and then I had to pay an extra $100 to get control or be able to ramp it up and ramp it down. That was unacceptable in my book. So yeah, really disappointed to Kessil for not doing some built-in control, some dongle.
The one thing I would like to try one day with a Kessil is those super focused track lighting ones, so you could have it way the heck up there and then shoot it down. Like it would probably be terrible for shadowing, but it'd be cool having nothing above the aquarium.
Dude, come on, man. I did that.
It'd probably be too much light spill and everything else. So I don't know, Brian.
No,
but in my head, it would be cool.
I'm gonna send you some pictures. I'm gonna send you pictures. I'm not the person who probably does the cleanest implementation, but to the left of my tank, it was right next to the TV. I had a nano tank beside it. And when you put a radio on anything else, the light spill would just interfere when you're doing TV. So what I did is I mounted a Kessil in the ceiling, the A500X, because the A500X is the only one that has that really narrow lens. And then I only had to run it at like 10% because the light was so concentrated. So then I put the really narrow reflector.
Yeah.
And So it was about 8 feet over the tank. You got no light spill. It fell perfectly into
That is the
my
one
nano.
scenario I think a Kessil would be cool. Like if I
I'm
was to
gonna
use a
say,
Kessil, that would be the scenario I would pick them.
I'm gonna send you a picture of the implementation I had.
Okay.
It was about the time of the BRS Reef Pack because I remember I actually got the light. But yeah, it was cool. It works.
Mhm.
If I ever have like a basement and I'm looking to create like an open like lagoon tank, like really low lagoon tank,
Yep.
that is the scenario where I would absolutely use
Mhm.
that Kessil. But yeah, man, that thing is worth it. It comes in handy.
That's
Man,
the one.
why does this guy Greg always show up on my stream? On my I'm trying to look through Instagram and all I'm seeing is pictures.
Pictures
The
of Greg.
heck?
Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so this is another interesting comment. Acro, I wouldn't mind running a single Kessil in the middle of my tank just for the shimmer. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've heard of people trying to do that with the Radions, but it didn't have enough punch to fully like shimmer through it. So depending on your lighting, that may or may not work well.
I know it's hard to see. I'm sorry, but do you
Nice.
see? Yeah.
Well, that's pretty solid. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
So, yep.
Beautiful.
And then, I put like one of those tracks that hid the cable coming all the way up.
Yep.
I'm going to send you the link to it. But yeah, it was cool. It came in handy, man.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
How do you share? All right. I just texted it to you. So,
yeah.
But yes, absolutely. So I don't think at the time the narrow lens did not work for the 360X. So I ended up having to get the 500X, but I think that might have changed now. I think you can actually use the narrow. Yeah. See? Yeah, that's perfect,
Yeah,
right?
that's good.
Yeah.
I like it.
I'm proud of myself. I was proud of myself,
That's slick,
man.
buddy.
Like
That's slick.
I had the cable. Yeah.
Good work.
Then I get it right every now and again, man.
All right. No, I like it. Okay. If there's any questions we haven't asked, please do just re-ask them. I know sometimes we're bad at missing them, but overall we try to be good. So, yeah. All right. Good implementation. I remember Jake's old one where he had one super high up with a narrow lens on the that like half-filled mangrove tank.
I have to say, like that was my inspiration for that. Yeah. In fact, if you look at the video again, you notice that that's a Lagoon 25. I ended up actually cutting out the baffle. I was trying to do what Jake did and it didn't work. So I ended up that was a 25 Lagoon with the back baffles and I ended up cutting them out. So that was my attempt. It failed spectacularly, but that's what came out of the failure.
Did you cut it out because you put a sump on it?
Yes.
Okay.
I plumbed it into my big tank.
All right. It's just acceptable. I was like, if you cut it out and just still had all your equipment there, I'd be like, why? But yes, if you plumbed your big tank, then that makes sense.
Yeah, with the X-Aqua overflow kit. That
is that the
I don't understand why those aren't. I know we keep changing topics. I don't understand why those aren't more popular in the US. In the UK, they have like it's kind of popular. They have different kits. They have the Ocean Life and a few other ones. I don't understand why like something like the X-Aqua is not more popular in the US.
Because people just buy pre-drilled tanks. Or you buy an all-in-one.
Is it?
That's my theory.
Okay.
That's my theory. Okay.
Tom,
filtration ? Fleece roller ? What is your question, Tom? Specific, sir. Fleece rollers. I like them. Yes. They keep your water super clear. They help remove nutrients. Big pluses. Downside, yes, you got to buy a filter roll. Which one? You've used the Red Sea. It is much easier to change than other ones. I've used the Clare Sea, which I've been happy with. Slightly more of a pain to change, but I just use a stapler and put the new roll to the old roll and yank it through. Then it's easy. But some of the Red Sea, they definitely do look slicker for changing. Go.
I'm sorry, what was the question again? Sorry, I got totally distracted.
Filter roller, which ones? What do you recommend? What would you use?
Using the Red Sea now because of the and because I personally get aftermarket filter rolls with it. The aftermarket filter rolls do not work with the Clare Sea, but my second choice would probably be Reef Factory. and then Clarisy third.
Mhm.
But I do like filter rollers, and I have them on every tank now.
Nice.
My nano tank has a Reef factory. I use a Red Sea. I do have a Claris. Well, I had a Clarisy. Long story. Um, but um, yeah, my LFS has the MRC filter roller, like the commercial one,
Danstorm.
and that thing. Oh, Dan has it. That thing does not. It works well, and he's only had to change the roll twice since he had it.
Nice.
I know.
Well, that's all right. When I first got a filter roller, like I felt like it ate through the rolls at first, and then the longer I have it, the longer the rolls last. Like mine, I feel like I hardly ever have to change it now.
What do you have?
SK5000.
Yeah. The
Gotta
Red
wrap her up soon.
Sea,
I hear my little guy at the door like, daddy, daddy, daddy.
the Red Sea uses a lot of rolls. I don't know why. If you're buying the Red Sea official rolls, it uses a lot of roll.
Yeah.
I don't know why. They say it's 200 microns. I don't think it's 200 microns.
24
I
inches
think it's
wide.
a lot less.
That's a lot of roll.
Yeah, I don't think it's. I don't know. The Red Sea roll is expensive.
Mhm.
It uses a ton of roll.
Yep.
That's my only thing. It would get a full 5 stars if it didn't eat through rolls that much.
Yep. Does a canopy weight impact seals on acrylic or a glass tank? If it's excessively heavy, it must. I mean, most of the pressure on glass is pushing outwards from the water, not down. So it's a different weight. So like a light canopy, I wouldn't worry. But if it weighs a bazillion pounds, then I'm sure it does add stress.
Yeah. I don't think it's anything to worry about, because sometimes you get tank manufacturers build the canopies is usually.
Yep.
So I've never heard anyone worry about canopy weight.
Yeah, so probably not a big thing, but
Yeah.
all right. I mean, summoned.
gotta go.
I gotta wrap her up.
All right.
I hear my tiny cheerleader at the door.
All right.
So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the stream. As always, if you did, hit that like button. Reefing with O, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, and as usual, I apologize for having to listen to us go off the rails, but I always appreciate. I'm thankful for being here.
It's always fun. Alyssa in Old School New Venture, thank you guys for super chats, much appreciated. And yeah, make sure you guys subscribe, follow, all that good stuff. Check out O's channel because we're gonna make him start doing videos. And yeah, we'll see you next week's live stream.
I'm gonna start tagging you in all my Pantera stuff too. So yeah, there you go.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys. Have a good night.
All right.
Bye.